Hey, my lovies, it's Dad again. Miss you guys in a huge way. Looking forward to coming home soon. I'll be home in a little over 30 something days. And looking forward to having some more conversation around the subject we've been talking about how to engage life. And the first episode in the series, I talked about suspending your judgment on things. And the second little episode, I talked about suspending your expectations. I wanted to talk about in this video the advantages to engaging life in this way. There's a lot of them. And hopefully by now you've got a Dadvice journal and you're writing some things down. And if not, even if you aren't watching this video till 10 or 15, 20 years from now, write the stuff down because it's helpful. And here's the advantages to engaging life in this way. Excuse me, suspending your judgments and suspending your expectations. The first advantage is that it means that you will stop thinking that things are happening to you. You stop taking things personally. When bad shit happens to you, bad shit, right? Because we talked earlier about suspending your judgment about what you think is bad or good. When stuff happens that feels bad or feels negative, and you suspend your judgment on that, you suspend your interpretations, opinions, analyses, and conclusions about whether or not it's positive or negative towards you or good or bad. You just pause your judgment, you pause your expectations. When you think that way, when you approach life and people and events that way, then it allows you to stop taking things personally, right? You can approach life in a way in which when negative feeling things happen, you can automatically assume this is not happening to me personally. Nobody's out to get me. There's no evil plan, right, that somebody has put together or a team of people have put together to try to bring about your demise. That's not how life really works. So that's one. Those are two huge advantages. The first is you stop thinking that things are happening to you, and then you stop taking things personally. Hugely important, especially when you get down the road and you're parenting. When you start parenting your own children, suspending your judgments and your expectations are critical in order to not take things personally. That was a major mistake I made in parenting you guys, honestly. It had been so many years since I was your age when you guys were little kids. There was such a gap of distance between, being 35 or 40 and, however old you were at the time. Such a gap of distance between me and remembering what it was like to be your age then. And it can become easy to think that your kid is doing things and behaving in certain ways just to, aggravate the hell out of you, just to make you angry or frustrated. And typically, kids don't really do that. And so, suspending your judgment on how they behave or what they're doing or what they're getting into, suspending your expectations, allows you to stop believing that they're out to get you, that they're trying to bring about your demise. You stop thinking that they're doing things to you, right? So that's just one example. Parenting is a big example. And I would say even religiously, right? If there's some kind of natural disaster that happens and you were to lose a house or, God forbid, lose a loved one, it's easy to based on a religious background, to begin forming interpretations, conclusions, analyses, and opinions and affirmations that God must be doing something to me or that the devil's doing something to me. And if you suspend your judgments about those kinds of things, and if you suspend your expectations, then you stop believing that God or the devil is doing anything to you at all. You're able to, like we said in the first couple episodes, you're able to just approach life simply as it happens, with no feeling of need deep down inside to try to make sense of it, because your very best efforts to make sense of it are made up. They're literally made up. Whenever we try to form a narrative around what happened, we're doing so because it's a soothing act. It helps us feel much better about what happened. The problem with that, of course, is that building a narrative about what happened that soothes us also involves interpretations and opinions and conclusions about things that we really can't prove and we don't know. So if you suspend your judgments and expectations and a natural disaster happens, or your car breaks down, there's another big one. I used to think when I was growing up, my car broke down, God was, disciplining me or punishing me for something, or that the devil had somehow gotten in my engine. Nothing could be further from the truth. Shit happens, and so just approach life as it presents itself to you. Another advantage to this mindset, suspending judgment and expectation, is you start to learn more about life and the world around you. When you suspend your judgments and expectations, you can just be an observer of how things work. You can just watch and take notice. Things have a pattern. Things work in a certain way. And when you begin to learn how those things work, then you can adjust your expectations based on observations rather than based on feelings. So if you know and you learn that the world works in a certain way, that nature works in a certain way, that people behave in a certain way, then you can adjust your expectations to expect people to do certain things. And then when they don't, then it can be a surprise, and a lovely surprise oftentimes. Another advantage, I was talking to Jonathan Chambers about this yesterday. When we live this way, we open ourselves up for unconditional love for other people and ourselves. That's a huge advantage. When you suspend your judgments and expectations about how you think things ought to be, how you think things should go, you find an incredible opportunity to open up your heart for unconditional love for other people, and importantly for yourself as well. That is huge, being able to love yourself where you're at. Being patient and kind and gracious with yourself. And if you just stop feeling like, I've got to make an interpretation on this. This is a good or bad thing. This should or should not have happened. Regardless of whether it did or not, when you suspend your expectations and judgments, you find yourself in a deep place of love for other people and yourself. Also, another advantage is you become disconnected from control and you experience inner peace and calm. When you suspend your judgments and expectations, you no longer feel like you have to make things up in order to feel like you're in control. That is probably my biggest weak spot, and we've talked about that many times, is I deeply struggle with control, and I suspect all humans do. I'm pretty sure we all do. And so the things that we do, the way that we respond to things, are our ways of trying to control, because we don't like how we're feeling, because we don't like the way we're viewing things, right? We don't like the interpretation that we've come up with. This thing happened to me, somebody's doing this to get me, or whatever. But if you suspend your judgments and expectations, then that creates a vacuum where there is no need to control. And where there is no need to control, wow, what a deep sense of calm and peace you can feel inside. So that's a great advantage. Another advantage is that you're able to become an observer of things rather than a participant in them and the drama that others tend to live in. Let me read that one again. You're able to become an observer of things. When you suspend your judgments and expectations, you're just becoming an observer of how things work, and you don't feel compelled to become a participant in the things that you're observing. Because when you do, right, that's what leads to drama, and that's where many people tend to live much of their lives. They feel this compulsion. I've got to jump in and let my emotions have full sway in this thing. Protests are a great example, right? You can watch protest, something that you really believe in or you're against, and you feel this emotion rising up in you to want to participate and jump in and carry the signs and say the things and yell the things. And it can create just a huge swell inside. I'm not saying protest or drama, but I'm saying that there is drama that often surrounds a lot of that, right? I mean, look at the January 6th, 2021 Capitol riots, great example. What that turned into, that was just absolute wholesale drama, violent drama. And that's where that kind of mindset leads to if you don't suspend your judgments and your expectations in life, people, events, and things. The final advantage to live in this way is that you can allow other people to mature into their own individuality, right? Kind of goes back a little bit to control, right? If you don't feel the need to control, then you're going to let things grow as they grow. You're going to let things be. You're going to let somebody that you love or work with or whatever, you're going to let them begin to mature into their own individuality. And you're going to watch things they do, and it's going to irritate the hell out of you. It's going to make you frustrated and angry at times. But again, if you pause your judgments and your expectations on them, then you can just be an observer of how they're behaving and unconditionally love them where they're at. And I think, as I've found, the number one way that people end up maturing out of their foolishness is because they have an environment of unconditional love. They seem to, a couple of you kids have been there, right? You've been that way. You've been down really dark roads before. And as you told me, you felt like that your mom and I's unconditional love for you is the thing that really created like a spider web that caught you, wherever you went. And it led you back to the home because you felt love there and support, and we believed in you, and we still do, of course. So those are some great advantages to suspending judgment, suspending expectations. I hope these are helpful reasons to lead you to engage life in that way. And in the next episode in this series, final episode, I'll talk about the potholes and the pitfalls to engaging life this way. And it's important that you know what those are so that when you fall into them, because you will, you're not standing at the bottom of the pothole raising your fist, to God and everybody else who's passing by, saying, hey, F you guys. It's important that you know what those potholes and pitfalls are. And I think those will help provide some more context. So anyway, looking forward to that last episode. I hope this is really helpful. And I love you guys, super miss you, and it's super excited about some vacation time coming together. So we'll talk to you on the next episode.